Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you, and welcome to our second recording of the W's of Islam. In episode 1, we discussed what is Islam and if Islam is a religion. In this episode, we're going to discuss two W's. Who are the Muslims and where are the Muslims? So I'm going to start first with the who. Usually when we say who are the Muslims, certain images come to mind. Sometimes the first image that might come to mind is, for example, how people are dressed or the dress code, whether it's head covers, loose clothing, and so on. Other times it's, for example, how people pray. If we see people bowing down and praying in that kind of a way, then we say, okay, these are Muslims. Other times we can say, okay, well, it's people who go to mosques. These are places of worship for Muslims. These are all correct, but we cannot say that these statements are really inclusive of all kinds of Muslims that we find in everyday life. Not all Muslims are dressed in a certain way or behave in a certain way. I discussed this before. They're not copy-paste, Muslims. So you have all kinds of Muslims that you cannot really sometimes tell if the person you're interacting with is a Muslim or not. Because the most important criteria for a person, if he's or she is a Muslim, is what's in their heart. So I discussed this declaration of faith in the previous recordings, but if a lady or a man believes that there is no God except that one God, Allah, and I discussed what that means in the previous recording, and that Muhammad, peace be upon him and all the messengers, is a messenger of God, then that person is a Muslim. Now, whether that belief results in practice of the faith or results or manifests itself in a certain dress code or a certain behavior, that depends on the person and how close they want to get to Allah, or how much culture interferes, or lots of other factors that we will go into a little bit when we discuss the series about diversity of the Muslim population. So this is basically who are the Muslims. It's a faith, so it's in the heart, and it manifests itself in so many different ways that it's sometimes hard to tell. Okay, now the second W is the where. Where can I find Muslims? Also, when we ask this question, a lot of times the answer would be in the Arab world, of course, and Saudi Arabia. Well, that is true, but not completely true. Because if we look at statistics here, for example, from the PEW Research Center, we can find that Saudi Arabia is not even one of the top 10 countries with the highest Muslim population. So if we look, this is a projections at 2030, and then we can see there that the country with the highest Muslim population is Pakistan, then Indonesia, then India, and so on. So we have two Arab countries in the top 10, Egypt and Iraq. Now, if we also look at, for example, Europe, although this is a future look in 2050, now, currently, I think it was 2010, there was some statistics also published by the same center, and it was about like 5 or 6% of Europe's population are Muslims. So this is a prediction for 2050, and also France is still the country with the highest population in Europe. Now, if we look at Islam in comparison with how it fits with other world religions in terms of world population, this is in 2015, and we see that Christianity or Christians or about 31% of world population are Christians, then we find that 24% of world population are Muslims. And so Islam currently is the second largest religion in the world. And the numbers, of course, now in 2023 are much more than, it's almost 25%. And if we look, for example, look at 2000, by the time 2060, they're predicting that Islam will be the first largest religion in the world. And then you have Christianity. So it's going to outgrow Christianity. So we can summarize from what I have discussed by answering this question. If I ask you to pick out who is a Muslim from this picture, what would be your answer? If you pick any of these pictures, I would say you are correct. Because according to what I said, Islam does not represent a certain ethnicity or race, and people all over the world can be Muslim from any population, and the dress code or how Islam manifests in people's lives vary from person to person. So any of these people can be a Muslim, and they can exist in any part of the world. Your next door neighbor can be a Muslim. So basically, 1 in every 4 people in world population is a Muslim. So we have answered the who and where. Next recording, we're going to look at why. Why should I learn about Islam? Well, we already stated some important ideas here in this recording. The statistics are telling us that Muslims are everywhere. Your next door neighbor can be a Muslim, so it's always good to know about Islam and how people live and what do they believe in. Statistically wise, you're high chance that you're going to meet Muslims even if you don't recognize that they are Muslims. So thank you very much for viewing this recording. If you have comments, questions, please leave them in the comments section, and God bless and take care.